Now it's a pleasure of mine to introduce to you J.R. Gonzales. J.R. Gonzales is serving his second term as chairman of the board of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and also serves as acting president and CEO of the USHCC. He's been on the USHCC board since 1999. He also chaired boards on both the Texas Association of Mexican American Chambers of Commerce and the Greater Austin Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. A native Texan, Mr. Gonzales is founder and president of JRG Communications Incorporated, an Austin-based public relations and marketing firm that offers public and media relations, political consulting, and media production in both English and Spanish. He is a Texas State University graduate and a lifelong resident of Austin. J.R.?
Good morning, and thank you very much. Just let me start off by saying it is truly a pleasure and an honor to be here today for many reasons. I was actually traveling in Mexico earlier this week on some international business tours, and when I got the invitation, I made sure when I got the invitation, I cut that trip short for various reasons. One of them is the importance of conferences such as this put on by the DOL and OSHA. Education of our community, education of our people is key. For those of you who may not understand or completely get the scope of what's happening here today, just let me give you my perspective. This is very, very historic. It's historic in a sense that in 2000, as the numbers went down, we did not accept those numbers. We looked at them and said, instead of, yes, we're making strides, let's move on to the next category, we understood that the fatality rate amongst construction workers, primarily Hispanic, is unacceptable. And with that unacceptable rate, the Department of Labor and OSHA have done many things to start improving to reduce that figure even more. We're experiencing about a 15% fatality rate amongst construction workers that are of Hispanic descent. 15%. Unacceptable. If you look at it, the reason I'm here today, representing the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, in that we're looking to see what we can do to support the efforts through our membership, through our community, through our resources. For those of you who may not be familiar with the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we are an umbrella organization of all Hispanic chambers in the country. We have over 2 million Hispanic-owned businesses in the United States, generating over $300 billion in revenue. We have offices in Washington, D.C. We have offices in Mexico City. We have an education foundation where we train youth and college students on how to become business owners. So hopefully after they graduate, they don't have to go to work for somebody else. They have the option to work for themselves. We also have a program. We have our own SBIC, a small business investment corporation that we help sponsor with the SBA. We actually have revenues of exceeding $100 million to invest into Hispanic-owned businesses into this country. We have a couple properties. We have Hispanics Today. Hispanics Today is a weekly syndicated television show that airs in 77 markets across the country and is actually written and produced in our offices in Washington, D.C. We also have a partnership with Hispanic Trends. Hispanic Trends is one of our properties, and it's a partnership with Hispanic Publishing, a national magazine focusing in on a variety of issues, but highlighting what's happening in Hispanic business today and the Hispanic community. These are just a few of the things that the United States Hispanic Chamber does, along with advocating for Hispanic business issues and things that affect our community. A mortality rate of 15% affects our community. It has an adverse effect on our community and is totally, totally unacceptable. And that's why we're here today. And that's why I'm glad to see so many people here today, because it's going to be the participation and the involvement that's going to be key. As I've had the opportunity, as I've been blessed, if you will, to have this position and to move around the country, both nationally and internationally, there's a few things that resonate very, very clear. And that's the importance of education. Education is paramount. Education is the basic foundation of any society. And I'm not necessarily talking about education for our kids, I'm talking about education for ourselves. We need to better educate ourselves. We need to better understand what the problem is. And as trainers are in the room, as educators in the room, as business owners, as people representing different agencies, we need to educate ourselves as to what the real issues are. Why is there still a 15% mortality rate? What caused it to go down? And if whatever caused it to go down, let's continue doing that. Education, whether it be in English, whether it be in Spanish, is key, because education of ourselves, of our community, of the workers, of the businesses, of the agencies we represent, is going to be the very basic cornerstone of moving forward and having a successful program. The second point I think that's very paramount is going to be that of involvement. And just by your presence today, it shows that you were involved. By the great things that OSHA has done and the Department of Labor, it shows that they're not only involved, but they're actively engaged in a proactive manner. Involvement, ladies and gentlemen, involvement. You know, your best ideas, your best plans, nothing comes to fruition unless you actually roll up your sleeves and get involved in the process. Conferences such as this are key. You need to go back to your businesses, you need to go back to your agencies, you need to go back to your communities and start teaching, or at least advocating and waving the flag for what you've learned here today during this conference. Because we have to become engaged, we have to become involved, and if we don't do it, who's going to? I think the next phase, especially for you business owners, and keep in mind I come from a business background. I started my own business when I was 26 years old. I'm now 46. If I was working for a corporation, I'd be due for retirement with a pension. But unfortunately, sometimes it's still week to week, month to month. I've taken a little bit of a sabbatical to take this position, but I understand business. I understand small business. And I understand that my employees are affected when there's an injury. I also understand the high cost of insurance. I understand that sometimes I can't even get insurance because of accidents or injuries on the job, and that fact alone can possibly put me out of business. What we have to do is, it's a multi-pronged approach. We need to look at the issue. We need to reduce mortality rates. We need to address the business issues. We need to lower the insurance costs, because without that, our businesses are not going to be able to survive. And it's the creation of wealth for our community that's so key. Creation of wealth for us to survive, because if it's not going to happen in the Hispanic community, it's not going to happen for America. And I say that because if you look at the Hispanic population, we are the largest minority. And I don't even like considering ourselves a minority group anymore. We're 44 million in this country. That's larger than the entire population of Canada. If you will, we're a country within a country. We're growing, we're emerging, and we're going to continue to grow. The Census Bureau, and God bless the Census Bureau, but their figures are not always accurate, and we all know that. They're projecting that by mid-century, over one out of 4 people, 25% of this country will be Hispanic. 25%. And if we have 25% of the people in this country that are Hispanic, and we still have 50% of our youth dropping out, and if we still have this type of mortality rate, and if we cannot generate and create revenue and wealth for our community, it's going to affect the overall population. As being Hispanic today is very vogue, as people want to tap into the market, as people want our workforce, as people want our disposable cash, what they need to start pursuing is our minds, our abilities, our skills, our experience, and taking those to the top of government agencies, of businesses, of corporations, and in community leadership and political arenas, because that's when there'll be a true understanding of the Hispano-Latino community and what's going on in that area, so we can proceed in a very, very positive manner. Creation of wealth is important. Collaboration, too. No one individual, no one agency, no one person can make the change by themselves. So that's why the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is so proud to be working with the Department of Labor and OSHA for this. Because many of our members are construction workers. Many of our members are affected directly and indirectly, not only with their workforce, but also by their production costs of the things that are happening today. When we look at it and we talk about collaboration, there again, the Hispanic population is growing. We're talking about, think about it, 1 out of 4 people by mid-century will be of Hispanic descent. We're also looking in the construction industry. I had an opportunity last week to give a speech in Washington, and I looked up some figures, and I was totally amazed that the fact from the year 2000 to 2012, one of the fastest growing industries And one of the best opportunities for jobs in this country is going to be in the arena of construction. Construction is going to continue, it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to affect the economy, the political, and the social scene of this country. And if we are still experiencing this type of mortality rate, once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's unacceptable. To bring it all full circle, leadership. Nothing happens without leadership. The Department of Labor, OSHA, the Secretary, men and women in this room have all taken a leadership role. Each one of you have taken a leadership role. You know, I had the opportunity to do a lot of training, a lot of speaking, and one of the things I like to use, and maybe some of you have used it before in your training, is the analogy, which is the most important piece of the puzzle? Which is the most important piece of the puzzle to complete the picture? The answer is every piece is important, because without it, your picture is not complete. Each one of you is a piece of this puzzle. Each one of our agencies, each one of our businesses, each one of our organizations is a critical piece of this puzzle to collaborate and make sure that we have a successful program. We need to collaborate, we need leadership, we need education, we need involvement. We need these things for this program and any other program to be successful. In conclusion, I would just like to say one more time, thank you for your involvement. Thank you for the education that you give. Thank you for your creation of wealth for those of you that are out there in businesses, for the state agencies. Thank you for your leadership, and to everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. I hope it's a successful morning for you, and thank you so much for being here and taking this information back to your community. And let's see by the time the census comes out next time that mortality rate has dropped even further. Thank you and good morning.